if ACT's going to survive, here's the way it's got to survive. Basically, the psychological flexibility model has to sort of do really well. And there's a set of criteria that you need for it to do really well. It has to apply to a whole bunch of stuff. It has to actually be pretty well supported at the level of these idiographic things. It's got to be able to lead you directly to procedures that have been tested that work. So you can give simplifying models to practitioners that have broad applicability, that they can use creatively, that can bring their own ways of doing these things. It's basically anytime with any client, you can go anywhere as long as you're targeting change processes that are relevant to the client. And use anything. I mean, you can use the off-the-shelf protocols, but if you understand the processes and principles, you can make up your own and then see how does it land. I have some new ways of thinking about the core processes because of this popular book. Now it's called A Liberated Mind: How to Pivot Towards What Matters. And I don't know if you've seen those kind of pivot things. What's cool about the pivot metaphor is each of the flexibility processes now has an establishing operation inside it. And so there's 6 establishing operations, essentially, that are evolutionary established or are established by the recent kid on the block, language and cognition, putting some things in as, what I call yearnings, but other people will call needs, and behavior analysts will call establishing operations. And so, if I'm doing process-based ACT and I'm linking it to process-based CBT, is instead of the usual way you come in, I come in anyway with, RFT, experiential avoidance, fusion, a little taste of creative hopelessness, flexibility model. I'm going to come in with human yearnings. And in the pivot way of thinking about it, the problem isn't the energy that's inside pathology. The problem is the smaller sooner versus larger later problem of being drawn into a fish trap of ways of meeting those yearnings, meeting those needs, in ways that are repertoire narrowing. So belonging, let's say, the yearning for belonging comes because of the social primates that we are, and from birth we've got it. But in order to be included in the group, once you're talking, you kind of think you can be included in the group by being special in some way, either having special abilities or having special needs. Help me, let me in, I'm cold. Or I'm the greatest of the great and the grandest of the grand, I'll make America great again. Either way. But both those things are repertoire narrowing because they're both comparative. They both separate you from others. But people do respond to them, both those things. They do, in fact, bring you in because you have special abilities or special needs. But inside the storied self, what you're feeding, there's always this comparison. I'm not just smart, I'm smarter. I'm not just in pain, I'm in more pain. So everything is comparative, and you climb inside the conceptual self, and you no longer can connect with people, or you try to, but you do all these things, that actually are off-putting. What you need to do is shut up and connect in consciousness. And that's a very acty kind of thing. The difference would be I'd go in through the yearnings, and then I'd start with belonging. Why? Because that's the seed that leads to language. Cooperation came first. You go belonging, then you go to coherence and the problem of fusion, and then you're out into feeling and orientation, competence, and meaning as yearnings, and then you then kind of get into that creative hopelessness phase where all of these efforts to meet these yearnings have brought you to a place where you gradually don't get any of them. I mean, you can no longer really feel, you can no longer really connect, you've put your values on hold, you're worrying and ruminating instead of showing up. I mean, you screw the whole, you can easily screw the whole thing up and be left with a robotic life inside a clown suit. I mean, that's basically where I think a lot of folks end up. And so clinically, what we then want to do is kind of take that energy, which is really important, and not so much put words to it, maybe put some words to it, but get people to open up to it again. And, you know, those markers of emotional openness, you know, that's why we cry when we get people to first connect with values. And, you know, people are desperate to have those yearnings met, and they just don't know how to do it. But that's, and then I'd have the great benefit of I don't have to do that much in terms of technology to move these processes. It's more than now seeing what's inside them, being able to read them, and being able to, you know, move